Hey everybody, it's me again, Kenny K, bringing you a interesting re-review actually, because I'm actually the day after tomorrow I'm going to Greece, the island of Creta, which is basically the movie I wanted to talk about, Antropophagus from 1980. That was also in Greece. That also played in. It was filmed in Greece. Takes place in Greece. Yeah, sorry for the my shirt. It's pretty hot. It's a heat wave here. Fuck, I'm sweating like a pig. But okay, Antropophagus, 1980, right? Gets a 5.3 on IMDb, and I'm giving it a 5.5. I do like rewatching this one. It's directed by Joe D'Amato. Joe D'Amato is known for making these Italian B horror slashers or body horror movies, and he regularly works with a guy named George Eastman, but that's not his real name. He's an Italian guy, and his Italian name I can't remember it, but he has this name that he uses, George Eastman. He also wrote the movie, by the way. He was a writer, and he's the villain of this movie, whose real name in the movie is, because a lot of people maybe don't know this, but a lot of people think he was a zombie in the movie, or he's a sort of man beast. He's a sort of man beast, but he's a man called Klaus Wardman. And you also have Tisa Farrow. She always played in these Italian horror movies. The sister of Mia Farrow. She plays a woman named Julie. She died. She died in 2024. Born in LA, Los Angeles. 51, I believe. Now, a synopsis of the story is you see a couple that are vacationing on this little island, this little village on the island, very picturesque, very quaint. An island in Greece, and you have all these little white houses, and the streets are these very narrow streets, corridors, and they're going to the beach. And the guy stays on the beach, listens to some music, his headphones on, and the woman sees this old rowing boat, fisherman's rowing boat. She goes to check it out. She goes to take a swim. She sees in it, and she probably sees some blood and limbs in there. And then, like Jaws, she's basically someone was underneath that boat the entire time. So that's kind of weird, because they had a good story there in the movie, and I'll tell that in the cons and pros and cons section. But she's pulled underwater, killed. You see some blood going, like a shark attack, going up to the surface of the water. Then this guy is coming out of the water. You see drops of blood dripping off him, and he kills the guy with a meat cleaver right through the head. And that's how the movie begins. Then you have a group of friends, apparently. They are going on this sailing boat tour of islands, starting from Greece, the mainland, and doing the islands of Greece, like Creta, like Rhodos, like the multiple islands they have. But there are smaller islands with these fishermen villages and this and that on. So Tisa Farrow, Julie asks, "Can you bring me to that island?" And they say, "But there's not a lot." And they say, "Yeah, but there's not a lot to see on that one." "Yeah, I know, but I have a nanny job or some kind of not a babysitter, but a nanny, or she has to look out for a girl for a few months. She's gonna work there, and the girl's blind. And eventually there you go, and of course shit hits the fan, and now and he become targeted by this man beast looking guy. Um, but he has a backstory, and they are picked off one by one in gory ways. Italian typical gore, explicit gore. And especially this movie, because if I show you when we started and I shown you the picture of the movie, it already gives away how the movie ends and how the man beast will find his demise. And I'll tell you that. So the pros are gore, the cool ending scene. So it's already a spoiler. It's on the cover of the movie, of the DVD, of the Blu-ray. He gets speared, and his body gets ripped open, and his guts are falling out, and he's starting to sitting on his knees, and he dies by eating his own guts, and he dies. So he's not very smart too. He's just so cool, practical gore effects. Now there's this one gore scene in there that I'm not gonna spoil, but it's a little bit too much for me. I'm not a prude. I'm not a gore prude, and it's even in a way even. So we got the Terrifier movies. Every movie goes a step further, and this is actually in a way more fucked up than even Art the Clown did. I'm thinking, did Art the Clown do something like this? I don't think so. So it involves a the group of people, a pregnant lady, and the man beast cannibal, and try to figure out what's gonna happen. So now, of course, I spoiled the killing of the man beast, Klaus Wardman, who his little backstory. Then I'll talk about that in the cons, because they fucked it up somewhat in a way there. Because when the people arrive on the island, of course, nobody's there. Okay, and that was one of the pros. It had a very creepy feeling. The island looked beautiful when people were there, quaint. It was in the ocean. But then when everybody was gone, they found dead bodies, skeletons. It looked like a lot of people were gone. You found this store that the only way of communication was through a telegram system, Morse code and things like that. And they soon discovered that their sailing boat is unanchored and is floating around the island, so they're stuck there. So you have this claustrophobic feel, and those narrow streets that I told you in the beginning actually become creepy. You know what I mean? And they make it, and a lot of people say it's a slow burn. Yes, it's a slow burn, but it's a slow burn that kind of builds up with the creepiness that there's somebody, you already know there's somebody there that's fucked up, who killed that guy with the cleaver and that woman. And knowing it's an Italian Joe D'Amato movie, you're gonna get a lot of gore. And I'm not comparing it completely, but you have a Halloween vibe that, like, Michael Myers is following them. The man beast Wortman is following them too. And you meanwhile have these corridors. You have this one lady running around there, writing "Go away now" on the windows, and I like that atmosphere. It had a good atmosphere, a creepy atmosphere. And at night there was a storm and rain, and they're staying in a little villa where the girl was living, but they couldn't find her. I mean, where Julie was supposed to be, and eventually they find her, but she was hiding in a barrel of wine, and she's stabbing like this because she's blind. She thinks he's there, but because she's blind, her eyes can't work, but her intuitivity with her ears and smell is better, and she smells him because he smells like blood. The metallic smell is of blood. I mean, blood smells metallic-y and tastes metallic-y. You know, if you ever had some blood, you had to bite on your lip or something, and that made it even more creepier when she was like, it's like in Aliens, you know, when Hudson has the tracker when the aliens are coming, she was the tracker of the cannibal, I want to say, of Wortman. He's around, I smell him. Yeah, you know, that was cool, that was creepy. So a good claustrophobic vibe, a good build up of claustrophobia and tension and suspense in this look, rather, which was quaint, now becomes creepy little village on an island where and you don't have the means to get out anymore, so you're trapped. And the gore, very cool gore, practical effects for the gore hounds. Just that one moment that was a little bit too much. I don't want to see that. With the pregnant lady. I'm thinking the acting was okay because a lot of dubbing, of course, but it was okay. The only one that kind of bothered me was this. I believe it was the sister of the it wasn't the captain of the boat. One of the guys who has a thing for Julie, you know, Tisa Farrow, but and she has a thing for his brother, but his brother also has a thing for Julie, and she's kind of jealous. But she was also into tarot, and she said, "We can't go to that island. We can't go because the cards say that the Grim Reaper is waiting for us," which is also a other title for this movie, aka the Grim Reaper. So I did like that they put it in there that she's a tarot card reader, and they find the Grim Reaper card, and she's like super paranoid, but she does something in the movie that I did not like. So you got good atmosphere, good tension, good location, good gore, okay acting, some of them, and a good backstory, but they should have gone with that with the beginning. So let's go to the cons. The backstory, I mean Klaus Wortman, and the one person you're looking, I'm not going to say who that is, but Klaus Wortman was a man who had a sailing yacht. He was rich, and they capsized in a storm, and they had this rubber dinghy, a rescue dinghy, you know, this boat, and they were underneath the sun. And the reason why Klaus Wortman looks like a man beast is because those wounds are burn wounds from the sun. And also, the reason why he's cannibalistic is a little bit fucked up because his wife and his one child survived, but the child was hurt so bad and dehydrated, and they didn't have food and water, that he almost was dead, but he was still living. And his wife, the mom, he wanted to kill him, to eat him, and he called him, "I'll do it fast." So he's out of his, but he was starting to, you know, get delusional, hallucinate because of being so long at sea, and he eventually wanted to kill him because he said it's our only survival. But the kid was still alive, so barely, but he was still alive. So the mom jumps in front of the kid. He stabs the wife. He yells, and eventually, that's how the story goes. That he looks like that, and why he's a cannibal. He ate his son and probably his wife too. So my idea would have been when this couple in the beginning finds that boat, that should have been the rubber dinghy. And when she looks in it, she finds blood and remains of his wife and his child. Right? That would have been the most obvious thing, but it isn't, because it's, first of all, it's a wooden rowboat, and second of all, he had a cleaver, a meat cleaver in his hand. There's another explanation that can be held, because the Wortmans had a mansion, almost a little castle. They were the richest people on the island, and he could have lived there because it was kind of isolated from the town, and started his killing spree, but because he killed basically everybody on that island. There were even cops, maybe one or two cops, for an island like that, for like 300 people living there, but he killed them all and ate them all. That's also a little spoiler, but I mean, you know what I mean? They could have done it like that, and he comes, that's how he gets you, because he's already a cannibal, and you ain't mad, and that story, they find the dinghy, and from there he's destroying these people on this, is killing these people on the island, right? That would have been a more, in my opinion, a better approach. A second thing that bothered me was, like I said, the sister of the guy with the tarot cards was okay, but when she eventually she does this weird thing where she wants to fuck. He's constantly complaining. She's jealous of the guy, the brother, where she has a thing for, but he wants Julie, and she's jealous of Julie, and she's nagging like a little child. And at some point, like a little brat, she runs away, and they gotta go after her. But then they're with Julie, and another guy goes after her. But then Julie and the other guy get separated, and the jealous woman closes her gates behind her, so she's kind of trapped on this, what appears to be a church, where all these graves, and apparently the man-beast cannibal guy, Wortman, is in the neighborhood, so she's the cause of almost killing her. And then at some point they find her and she disappears, and at some point they find her again, and she's like, I'm so sorry that I did that. I mean, it's weird. That was a weird part in the movie that I did not like. Also, what happened with her, she didn't explain a lot of things. She didn't explain the person who saved her. She didn't explain jack shit, right? So I didn't like that part. I didn't like that actress. I liked her in the beginning with the tarots. Okay, you have this really paranoid little person and in the movie, but I didn't like that. So I didn't like that. I didn't like the beginning, that it's weird, because okay, it would have made more sense. You didn't need to know the backstory, but the rubber dinghy would have made more sense, and because you get that backstory at some point in the movie, why he's that way. This little moment when he's on that boat, with all these burn wounds and flesh, peeling off. I mean, salt water and the sun on you. Fuck, man. And no water. You start to drink from the ocean. You get delusional by doing that. I mean, yeah. So, yeah, those were basically the only two things that I disliked about it. The rest of the movie is pretty good. It got a, like I said, a cool looking film, cool looking gore. Like I said, I like the location, this little village island with these narrow streets and corridors and all these white houses and creepy. And then what becomes quaint becomes creepy because there are skeletons everywhere, and there's something really bad happened there. And yeah, I like that. I like that. I like that. And the addition of the blind girl who could smell them was cool. It was cool. Like I said, the slow burns can be a con for some people, but for me, I like them if they do it right, if they keep me entertained. And they did. Some say it was boring, I fell asleep. No, you gotta appreciate the island environment, the creepiness, the atmosphere, the fact there's running this fucking cannibal man beast around. You saw on the picture of the cover of the DVD. You know what I mean? So yeah, if you never watched it, go watch it. I know I spoiled what happened. He dies, of course, but it's already spoiled on the cover, but in an epic way, of course. And still, it's a picture, so you really want to see it in real life. And he's taking out those intestines and chewing on them. But who survives and who doesn't? Right? That's something I won't spoil. I will tell you multiple people will survive. So you know it's not a final girl situation. So that being said, give it a watch. Like, comment, subscribe. It's all free. It's all good. See you later. And have a nice hot day if you're have a nice day in any country.